All right, let's dive into one of history's most, well, frankly, mind-blowing stories of personal change. We're talking about the journey of how a movement's biggest enemy became its greatest champion. It's a single switch that really did help shape the course of history. And that really is the heart of it, isn't it? That's the big question for today. How on earth does someone who actively hunts down and punishes a group of people suddenly become their most important leader? It's a huge paradox, and it's what makes this story so compelling. So, to even begin to understand the transformation, you got to understand the man he was before. Before he was Paul the Apostle, he was Saul of Tarsus. And this guy was defined by his ironclad conviction and his total opposition to this new growing faith. And look, Saul wasn't just some random guy with an opinion. He had credentials. He was a Roman citizen, which gave him a ton of status and legal protection. By trade, yeah, he was a tent maker. But his real passion, that was the law. He was trained as a Pharisee, which means he was a serious expert in Jewish law. And he applied that knowledge with this ferocious zeal, actively going after the early followers of Jesus. You know how every great story has that one moment? That one pivot where everything changes? Well, for Saul, that moment happened on a journey. He was on his way to the city of Damascus, and this single trip would end up changing not just his life, but the future of the very movement he was trying to destroy. So while he's on this road, something totally unexpected happens. The story goes that he had this vision, an encounter so powerful, so direct, that it just completely shattered his entire worldview. Imagine, in a blinding flash of light, the persecutor comes face to face with the very figure at the heart of the faith he hated. And after this vision, Saul was baptized. The change wasn't slow, it wasn't gradual, it was immediate, it was total. He basically emerged from this a new man with a new name, Paul, and a mission in life that was the complete opposite of what it was before. I mean, you just can't get a starker contrast in this. Look at it. On one side, you've got Saul the persecutor, a guy whose life's work was literally to arrest and even kill Christians, and on the other, you have Paul the apostle, who then dedicates the rest of his life to preaching the exact message he once tried to snuff out. This is way more than just changing your mind. It's a 180-degree reversal of your entire purpose. And Paul didn't waste a single second. He took all of that drive, all that passion and intellect that he once used for persecution, and he just flipped it. He channeled it into building something new. He started traveling just tirelessly all across the Mediterranean, setting up new Christian communities everywhere he went. But, starting these little communities was really just the beginning. Paul had to find a way to guide them, to teach them, and to keep them all connected, even when he was miles and miles away. And his solution, well, it would end up becoming his most lasting legacy. He wrote letters, and not just a few, a lot of them. He was writing back and forth with churches in some of the biggest cities in the Roman Empire, places like Rome, Corinth, Ephesus, you name it. And these weren't just hope you're well notes. No, they were these deep theological arguments, practical guidance, and tons of encouragement, all sent across this huge network. Now, think about the impact of that for a second. These personal letters, written to tiny communities almost 2,000 years ago, were so important that people saved them, copied them, and eventually, they became the foundational text for Christianity. They make up a huge chunk of the New Testament that people read today. It's kind of amazing. But this new life was definitely not an easy one. The same intense conviction that made him such a fierce persecutor now made him a target. His journey was filled with constant opposition, and he was arrested again and again by people who saw his new message as a dangerous threat. So his life after that conversion is just this incredible dramatic arc. It starts with that lightning bolt moment on the road to Damascus. Then you have decades of his missionary work, all leading to his final arrest and a 2-year imprisonment in Rome. And it all ended with his death during the reign of the Emperor Nero. Now, Paul's death is called a martyrdom. And that word has a very specific meaning. A martyr is someone who is killed because of what they believe. So Paul wasn't executed for some normal political crime. He was killed for his unwavering faith. And here's a fascinating little detail that connects all this to art history. If you ever see a painting or a statue of St. Paul, you'll often notice he's holding a sword. Now, that's not because he was a soldier. It's actually a symbol that points to how he died. He was beheaded, which was a form of execution sometimes used for Roman citizens. So we kind of end up right back where we started, just looking at this incredible transformation. The story of Saul becoming Paul, it really forces you to think about the very nature of change itself. It leaves us with this really powerful question. What does it actually mean for a person to change? And what kind of ripple effect can one single transformative moment really have?